Hey guys, hope everyone's well. I wanted to come back and complete my series of House of Dragon reviews because, oh my god, I know, I hate that I never finished them and didn't do all of the episodes. I actually just couldn't watch it because I couldn't get Now TV on my old iPad. Also when I did eventually watch it, like the show was kind of, totally out of date, and it just never felt like the right time to come back and recap and like let you know my thoughts. And I was like, no one's gonna watch like a breakdown of like, 7 episodes that were on months ago. But what I've decided to do is come back and answer my initial question from my initial House of the Dragon video, which is, can House of the Dragon beat Game of Thrones? So did House of the Dragon beat Game of Thrones? And that's what we're going to discuss today. So woo, I've got my Game of Thrones hair in. I'm not quite sure which character this is. This is kind of like one of the girls in the brothel, maybe. A little bit of Khaleesi. No, this is Marjorie. This is Marjorie hair, I'd say. So I've got my Marjorie hair in. And yeah, we're going to discuss everything I thought about the 10 episodes we saw of House of the Dragon. I thought it was a good time to come back and discuss because I know that Series 2 has just gone into production. If you didn't know, we're not going to get Series 2 until 2024, which sucks. I know how whenever there's a really good popular show, especially something with the level of production that House of the Dragon has, we often have to wait like 2 years. I mean, with Game of Thrones, we got it yearly, apart from the one before the end, there was like a 2-year break. So I don't really know why we had this break with House of the Dragon, except I guess that they didn't know if they were going to definitely commission a Series 2, even though obviously like that IP, that Game of Thrones IP is so popular that woo, they did, and they have. So all I really know about the next series is that it's going to be the showrunner is going to be Ryan Condal and not Miguel Sapochnik, which is interesting. Obviously, Miguel Sapochnik is like an unreal director. Literally directed, some of the best episodes, if not the best episodes of Game of Thrones, like Battle of the Bastards, The Bells, which I know that's like a really controversial episode. It was the penultimate episode. It's totally one of my favourites, and like I'd like to do a video one day on why I think that was such a good episode. So he was, the attached name that we all knew and recognised from Game of Thrones, apart from obviously George R.R. Martin was also attached, and then he's left. It's such a shame. And from the statement he gave, it was something about like in his personal and professional life, like he needed to take a break or something. So it's fascinating because it's such a huge project. Obviously the production is so off the scale, and I think the people working on it, like David and Dan with Game of Thrones, have to just put their all into it. It's like a year-round, like on-the-clock job, and it was like he needed the break, which is incredible to show how much like effort is put in by the show and how much like people give. It's just incredible what it kind of takes from the creators. It does make me nervous that we only have Ryan Condal for the next series. Nothing to do with, I don't know obviously who did which bits of each series, so obviously I'm sure he's fantastic. In fact, if I just went back and looked which episodes he wrote and stuff, I'm sure he wrote loads of stuff that I loved. But obviously we're losing half of the the team, the co-creators, the team behind it, and it's like now more of a workload for Ryan Condal, and it'll be like just his vision. So it kind of makes me like not nervous or anything, but you just wonder like, are we going to be like losing something? And it's just a shame to lose someone that we know is so talented into that project and lose like the element of collaboration that we have. And then the other kind of negative is that there's going to be 8 episodes, not 10. So that's just for me. I just think it sucks when you love a show and then it kind of cuts the episodes down. And 10 is already kind of not a lot for like, an HBO series. I remember it was already disappointing how when we finally got to the final seasons of Game of Thrones, they cut the episodes when we'd always had 10. I like it when you get 13 episodes in a series. I understand that might not be possible. It definitely seems a shame to be going down to 8 straight away, and you wonder if it's just because, of the level of production and effort they have to make. So I kind of wish again that like they weren't doing that. That's kind of all the updates I have for series 2. The only other thing I'd say is Blood and Cheese. So I haven't read the book, so don't give me any spoilers, but every time I watch any review or discussion or talking about it with like any book readers, everybody always goes on about Blood and Cheese, and it's something that happens in the book, which I think is going to happen next series, which is apparently just the most twisted, messed up, unforgivable thing that a couple of characters do to another character. I have no idea what it's going to be, but I cannot wait, and for that reason alone I'm going to tune in, even though I don't know what Blood and Cheese is. But doesn't it just even sound creepy? So yeah, I wouldn't spoil it for yourselves if you don't know. Stay like me, stay fresh. But I'm looking forward to that. Right, so let's get into the question. Did House of the Dragon beat Game of Thrones? We can start at the answer. No, it did not. It did not. This is obviously 10 hours competing with about 73 hours. And I think I said in my original video that, you know, from the first series, I don't think it's going to beat it in one series, because from the first series of Game of Thrones, like, there was it took ages for us to, not ages, but it took like 2-3 series to build into, you know, the payoff, the stakes, the love for the characters. And I think some of the more deep-led storytelling and more interesting characters, like for example Brienne of Tarth, they didn't come through until the second, the third series. Obviously you have things like the Red Wedding that had so much payoff. You have more risks being taken and production value going up, although that doesn't really apply here because the production value is kind of already at, you know, millions and millions, like as good as they can possibly make it. But the first series of Game of Thrones, you go back and watch it and it's kind of a traditional family drama, and there aren't so many shocking standout things that happen. There isn't like the Theon Greyjoy storyline, like it's more classical, more traditional. So I don't judge like the first series in not being able to compete with the whole 8 series of Game of Thrones. You know, there's just like, they had so much more time to introduce all these incredible characters, concept scenes, ideas, twists, to get more and more edgy, deep, lad, like more detailed kind of relationships, road trips between characters, all these subplots, incredible things. So I don't judge them at all for like not competing, and I'm not surprised that they didn't manage to beat it. What I would say is, like, so if you watch my original video, like I kind of went into the series saying all of those things, and so I would have known that like you're competing with an IP, you're based off an IP of something that was so deep, so intense, had some of the most incredible writing and scenes and twists and ideas and characters, and things felt really unique and really realistic. And we've just seen all of that, and you're coming in, you're competing, you're coming back with the prequel sequel that like should be better, to be honest. I mean, you always want to like up yourself, and it definitely wasn't just production that made Game of Thrones what it was. It wasn't dragons, it wasn't like, you know, a big budget historical drama, it wasn't battle scenes. Like, that wasn't why people were really connected to it. It was the writing, the characters, twists, scenes, ideas. That's a very obvious thing going into it that you know. So I feel like the showrunners, the writers, like that should have really been at the forefront of their minds, to really bring in some kind of a really incredible, unique, creative scenes, moments, characters, twists, relationships, etc. Just things we hadn't seen before, things that felt like non-traditional, fresh, edgy, spicy, and just kind of like really took you to like the depths of like the most kind of layered world. Really stay away from feeling like a traditional period drama, and feeling like something that didn't have the richness that was like very obvious to me. And I feel like we love Game of Thrones for the edginess, and so we really wanted like more of that. You know, you want to really bring in all that edginess, and I think knowing that, I think that they could have stepped it up, and they maybe like didn't give us enough of that. They focused a lot on, you know, production, dragons, world building, and also I think just where they started in the prequel. This whole series, really up until the end when it's like the war begins between, you know, the two different factions of Targaryens, like the whole series kind of had to be like a setup and a prequel. Obviously, like we have this time jump in the middle, so we lose 10 years of all these incredible like developments between the characters. We lose our really interesting kind of like 19-year-old rival princesses and jump straight to them being like mothers, who I think they're like 29, aren't they? And then it jumps another 6 years and both of them have got like 4 kids, you know. And Rhaenyra, the character in the book, apparently she gets she's meant to lose her spark and like age badly, and be kind of like a more kind of dowdy, kind of drained princess because of like things she's been through. So you kind of have that happen in the series, and it works as an idea and it works like in a book, but doesn't work in a series to lose like a charismatic young princess that everybody loves and replace her with somebody who's like a bit like dowdy and drained. And I know then she's meant to be this like mother bear character, and like the acting's meant to like really go to this other level because of everything she's been through. I haven't really seen that yet from Emma Darcy's performance. Not saying that it's like a bad performance, it's definitely like a very, very good performance. I just think we haven't seen like Cersei level stuff from her. We're not seeing like Lena Tyrell level stuff from her, and it kind of, we need to kind of get that level like quickly if it's going to compete with Game of Thrones. And so yeah, that's kind of just the shape of the first series, apart from a couple of episodes. Like, I loved Rhaenyra and Daemon going to the sort of like Glastonbury of King's Landing and then having uncle niece sex. Like, couldn't be more outrageous. So I was like, that's like the Game of Thrones that we like tune in for, that I love. So I was delighted with that. And then the episode where Aemond is looking for Aemon because he's gone missing, because he might be in some kind of brothel and he's kind of hidden around somewhere in King's Landing, and we go all through to seeing all these weird twisted things like children's fighting pits and crazy things like that. Those are probably my two favourite episodes that I felt like stepped it up. Also the scene where Alicent almost takes the eye of the boy, of, you know, Rhaenyra's son, who took her son's eye, but it was accidental. And I was like, take the eye, like it's Game of Thrones, it's George R. R. Martin. Like, no, why isn't she taking the eye? What the hell? Don't be tame. But I think like that's just, you know, that's how that played out. I think it's all kind of coming. So those were kind of, you know, maybe 3 moments I would give you. They were awesome, and that got like what I wanted from the show, and that's maybe 3 in the whole kind of 10 episodes. Other things felt like a little bit stoic and stately and just didn't come with like the colour and the soul that I know kind of like this project can. I know that like George R. R. Martin like wants it to be. So yeah, so it didn't be Game of Thrones, and I think there's some areas where I'm like, why didn't you try and step it up there like to be Game of Thrones? Having said that, I always have to judge things off like the actual experience I have watching, and obviously this was 10 hours of some unbelievable direction, production, story setup. Even though I said I don't watch it for the CGI or the dragons, for me, for someone who doesn't come to it for those things, like there were some dragon sequences that like were mind-blowing. It's just incredible to see that kind of thing on TV, and I can't lie, I'm super excited to see like just what they're going to do with the next action sequences, because, you know, from a couple that we had, the detail that they put into the animation, like from the first series, you know, it's just going to be unbelievable when we start getting like dragon battles. And I think it is just a time thing. I know that like these dragons, apparently all of their personalities come out more and more, and they have some sad stories. And god, yeah, I mean, there was a dragon euthanizing, mercy killing his owner. I mean, that is incredible. And so, you know, I think we are going to get some like unbelievable stuff. So, you know, I always give everything kind of an 8 or a 9, and yeah, again, I'm gonna have to give this an 8 or a 9, but it didn't beat Game of Thrones because Game of Thrones is an 11. But the gist of the story is it's coming. It could do like bring us the colour, bring us the soul, bring us the heart, bring us the spice, which I'm pretty certain they're gonna do. I'd like to see some of the performances get a little bit more varied, really bring us, you know, everything you've got. And then I think like it can be Game of Thrones. So, you know, next series, like the battle's back on, the battle between the dragons, and this little battle here between the OG prequel and the sequel. So I'll let you know what I think in 2024. Hope you enjoyed. Sorry for the massively delayed review, and yeah, can't wait to review like more of it soon, and some other projects coming very soon. Have a fabulous day. Stay safe on your dragon, don't fall off, and I'll see you soon.